What's up, everybody? Hope everyone is having a great rest of their day so far. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Clint Brewster, recruiting analyst at 247 Sports. Clint, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on. Please introduce yourself to all the viewers watching right now.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I've been with 24/7 Sports for about 7 years now as a recruiting analyst and evaluator, and I grew up obviously playing football, and my dad was a coach in college and NFL as an assistant, and now he's with Florida, with the Gators as a tight ends coach, and it's been a great journey, and I'm excited to talk Miami with you.
Yeah, man, I greatly appreciate it. Your father, for those of you guys that don't know, Tim Brewster is considered one of the best recruiters in the nation. He not only was a head coach at Minnesota, a Power 5 football program that's been running phenomenally under PJ Fleck right now, assistant head coach at UNC, dominated South Florida recruiting while with Jimbo Fisher at Florida State, went to Texas A&M, and went back to UNC, is now at the University of Florida under Dan Mullen. So very impressive record your father has, man. And you're doing rooting right now for 247 Sports?
Yep.
Yeah, and sorry. Go ahead. No, Clint, go ahead. I interrupt you. My apologies.
Oh, no, I was just saying, yeah, it's been a great ride with 24/7. It's been a great company. CBS bought us a couple of years ago. And it's exciting to cover recruiting, especially right now. There's new teams popping up
right
now that are doing great things in recruiting, and it's been exciting to work with them.
Yeah, definitely, Clint. Definitely a great opportunity. Hey, Clint, speaking of the state of college football right now, you were a former Power 5 quarterback. You were committed to Minnesota out of high school. You then went on to play at Tennessee Tech. What is it like to go into a season without having a spring practice?
Yeah, it would. Especially as a quarterback, it would be difficult, because the spring is that time where you gel, with the receivers and the offensive line, and the biggest thing in spring practice is your blitz protection and blitz pickup, and you really fine tune all that in spring practice, and especially for transfers and kids like the Eric team, going to Miami, it's critical for him, to have a spring practice.
Right.
To, even though he's got a lot of experience, though, so it's, that's a good thing. He threw, I think it was 36 touchdowns, 2 years ago. So he's got that experience, but yeah, spring ball is crucial, and just for teams to see what they have as far as walk-ons and guys that are down the depth chart, that won't get a look,
right.
In fall camp. It's crucial, in spring practice to get that look.
No doubt about that, Clint. And I want to pick your brain a little bit. Do you think we'll have a football season? Because I know there's been a lot of cases going on when practice begins. Can you picture kind of a chaotic football season, or kind of what programs are preparing for?
Yeah, who knows right now? There's a lot of speculation, but I'm trying to stay positive as I can.
Right.
I want the season, and I do right now. I do think that there will be one, but I don't know. The capacity in the stands obviously is a huge question mark there. But it isn't good, with all the players coming back to campus for workouts now and testing positive for coronavirus, that sets us back.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Clint, speaking of D'Eriq King, the ACC, they really have a nice group of prospect quarterbacks going into the NFL draft. There's Trevor Lawrence. I want to pick your brain about Sam Howell and D'Eriq King. What do they bring to the table? I'm sure you were watching a lot of North Carolina football games this past season. Is Sam Howell the real deal? He put up great numbers his first year in college.
Yeah, he really did. It was pretty remarkable what he did as a true freshman. It was, the poise that he showed, as a true freshman, and how he played on third down, fourth down, in clutch situations, and being able to go through his read. He looks like a veteran, in that offense, and he's got a great arm. He throws the vertical routes really well, which is really important in that offense. And it'll be really interesting to see what kind of pro prospect he is, because he's only 6 foot. He doesn't have great mobility.
Gotcha.
So it'll be interesting to see what kind of NFL prospect he is, in a couple of years, because of that, but he's going to put up huge numbers. That's for certain. So, it'll be interesting to see, where he goes in the draft.
No doubt. And I think that Philip Longo system really clicks with Sam Howell's skill set. Mack Brown, they really do have a very solid staff there. I know they got the defensive coordinator from Army as well. Are you buying into the Mack Brown hype, or is it kind of a wait and see approach? Because I feel like it's similar in a sense to Mark Richt getting a second breath of air at Miami. But then after a couple years, you have some tough seasons, a lot of pressure, you kind of lose it after an old age. So do you think Mack Brown is going to thrive at UNC, or do you see kind of a different perspective?
Well, I think that he will, because he knows what he needs to do to get the job done there. He's done it before. And I think, one of the biggest things is recruiting in the state of North Carolina. He's done so well. He's 4th right now in the country in recruiting, and you can build a championship team
right
inside the state there. And it's amazing, that the state of North Carolina this year, for the 2021 class, just the depth that they have. Especially at defensive line and offensive line, and even in the skill positions, they just have so many great players and signal callers. With Drake May in there,
yep.
In the state, he could be the top player in the country. I've talked to some coaches who think he's the best quarterback in the country, and that he could be a transcendent player for North Carolina, with the physical tools that he has, being 6'5", 230, he's mobile, he's got a huge arm, he threw for 50 touchdowns as a junior, so Mack Brown has the players right there,
right?
They're doing a great job of capitalizing that, so I think that's going to sustain, success for him.
And Clint, what do you think about the combination of Rhett Lashley's offense, who did a beautiful job at SMU, was a Broyles Award finalist, really cultivated the career of Shane Buechele, who was basically rejected by Texas. How do you think it will fit with D'Eriq King coming from Houston, final year in college football? Do you think that's a match made in heaven, or kind of a wait and see approach for a 1-year football season with the both of them?
Yeah, I do. I really like Rhett Lashley, and especially what he did last year at SMU and what he did at Auburn. He does a great job of getting the ball downfield and getting guys open. And what he does is he makes, the offense look so complex for the defense. There's some misdirection, and he does so well, putting in little wrinkles into the offense to where it puts the defense in a bind, and then you got somebody running free, over the top, and I think that he does so well with mobile quarterbacks, like De'Aaron King, and I'm just a little bit concerned with De'Aaron King and what happened last year at Houston. It was, I don't know what happened there with them.
Right.
But I mean, I'm optimistic for Rhett Lashley and De'Aaron King and what they can do there. And Miami had some receivers that he can use, and I think that it could be really good.
Yeah, definitely, Clint. I know, I completely agree. It's not really normal for a quarterback to just, take, in a sense, sit out the rest of the season after the 4 games with the red shirt rule under Dana Holgerson, who usually kind of has a great offense as well. So I completely get that perspective. It is kind of an interesting aspect to his career. Clint, I want to pick your brain. What do you think about the Manny Diaz hire at Miami? Personally, I always thought Miami wasn't a first-year head coach location. Their history says a lot. It was really, Manny Diaz was a fairly new defensive coordinator on the scene, had experience at Texas for a year, but really shined at Miami. Did you like the hire, or were you really surprised by it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it can fit. You look at the connections that he has, obviously, with the city of Miami, and my brother, actually, my younger brother, played under Manny Diaz.
Okay.
At University of Texas. When he was the defensive coordinator there, and he really likes him and thought that he's a great coach. I think that if he uses the resources that he has there right in Miami, that he can be really successful. Obviously they have a ton of great players there, and I think the key will just be, whether or not he can recruit a great quarterback,
right?
And get great quarterback play at Miami. That's what they've been missing for quite a while. They need a guy that can really change the program and win there consistently. So I think that it was a good hire, and I mean, time will tell, but I'm optimistic about it.
Right. No, absolutely. And that's what Manny Diaz said in his press conference when he was hired at Miami. We need to change the quarterback culture. When Miami's last NFL player to take a snap in the regular season was Brock Berlin, who was a quarterback in 2003. I'm not even sure if he was drafted maybe in the 6th or 7th round. So that's really not a good formula for a successful college football team. So that is definitely a position where, we need to, get guys in. I think we swung and missed with Tate Martell, who had the best high school film I've ever seen in my life. Were you a big Tate Martell fan as well?
Yeah, I mean, he was on a great team, at Bishop Gorman. He definitely looked the part, but he's 5'10" maybe at best, and
right.
I don't know if he has a huge arm. He's got some mobility, and just it's not working for him so far in college. He looked like he was going to be a really good player at Ohio State. When he was there,
right.
He really pushed Dwayne Haskins. But he needs a lot of good players around him. He needs the right system, there, and it didn't work for him, last year. But yeah, he's an exciting player in high school, for sure.
Hey, Clint, regarding recruiting, getting local guys on, where do you think Miami needs to improve on as a program, moving forward, that past coaches really just missed on?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we talked about the quarterback.
Right.
There. It's all just getting somebody that can, be consistent and really a great quarterback, is really needed there. It's and And it seems like, Miami has had some sort of disconnect with the high school programs in the area, in Dade and in Broward. And I'm not real sure what the deal was with that, but they need to have, great relationships with the high schools, around the area, and really just build, from right there in Miami. And I think that obviously, a lot of the best players in the city were going elsewhere. So
Absolutely,
they've got to start. Yeah, they've got to start there in Miami. So.
Absolutely, Clint. That's something that Jimbo Fisher, I feel like, took a great advantage of during his time at Florida State. He really got the under the radar recruits in a lot of local high schools in Miami or South Florida in general to come to Florida State. And I feel like that's why he was so successful against Miami, where I think Miami only beat him once in Jimbo Fisher's last year. Can you kind of go over some points that Jimbo Fisher really did well against Miami, or just as a head coach in general? Because I really feel like Jimbo Fisher is a very good head coach, and it's very hard to win the SEC.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And what Jimbo did was he had great relationships in South Florida. Like I was just saying with the Hurricanes. I mean, he recruited well down in South Florida. He got players like Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
He's such a good quarterback engineer. He really develops guys and finds players. I think he was the first big school to offer James Blackman, and it was just remarkable what he did with James Blackman as a true freshman when he came in for DeAndre Francois.
Right.
When Francois got hurt, several years ago, it was you could just see how good of a coach Jimbo Fisher was, and what he did with Jameis, to win the Heisman and win the national championship. He's a great evaluator of talent. He's a great quarterback engineer. He gets the most out of his players, and he's not afraid to take one that is less recruited. That's not a 5-star, that's not a 4-star guy. He's not afraid to take one of those guys and develop them, and I think that's what he does